Hey everyone, got this old hand plane and it is full of sawdust and dirt and all sorts of things. We're going to clean it up, get it running a little better.
So I do like these old tools, I'll have to say that. They just don't make them like they used to. This thing is really solid, and when you see how much blade there is that I can sharpen, I really don't think that I'll ever get through it all. So this piece I'm showing you here is the locking piece. It actually goes on top of the blade and it locks everything in place with that lever on the back. And so I'll get that cleaned up. I'm basic tools here. I'm using a screwdriver. Almost everything on this is flathead. Like you see the screw in the middle of that piece I'm showing you there. This is the blade and the blade backer piece, which backs the blade. You can adjust how much blade's sticking out from the backer and how much pressure that puts on the blade. The piece on the right here is actually the blade, and the piece on the left is the backer. Now the blade has a long groove in it. Turns out the angle adjustment fits into that groove and adjusts the angle. The other piece has a small slot that the depth adjuster fits into, and that's how you adjust the depth. We'll get to that more. So I am using a combination of a wire brush, a toothbrush, an old toothbrush, not the one I use on my tooth, just in case you're wondering. And I'm using some oil, just the A1 generic oil. I also have this nylon brush for removing bigger debris. Eventually I do have to break out a scraper and things to get at some of the harder chunks. This I'm showing you here are the handles. These are nice hardwood handles. I've getting the impression they're cherry. And yep, that's me working over a bucket. Probably could have had a better workstation, but this way it catches all of the debris falling off this as I go right in the bucket for easy disposal. So there we are. There's our handle with our through bolt. The front handle also has a through bolt. I didn't pull it off till later. Now we're going to remove what I'm calling the mouse. Well, okay, it's not really a mouse, but it sure looks like one, doesn't it? And this is actually the backing piece for the blade, and that round piece you see there is the depth adjuster, and that tail sticking off the mouse is actually the angle adjuster. So there we go, I've removed it from the base. Now I can get to working it out, making sure it all works. So this was pretty rough. It wasn't seized, but it was pretty rough and rusty, so I had to work it back and forth quite a bit in order to get it to finally run it the whole track, the whole threads, and then I pulled it out and cleaned it up a bit more. This is the getting that angle adjuster to work a little better. And I did determine that the angle adjuster, the piece that fits in, it was a little kind of flattened out. So you'll see here later I have to actually make an adjustment to that, which is the only adjustment I had to make to the tool. Here I am determining how the thing goes back together. Mental note for you all, if you decide to do this, probably better off taking pictures or notes when you take it apart. But here's me just being quick and not taking enough notes, so I have to figure out how it goes back together as I go. It took me a little bit, but this spinning adjuster that adjusts the depths, so it has a groove cut in it, and then there's a yoke piece that pivots over a pivot point. The yoke fits into the groove. As you spin the knob in and out, it moves the yoke in and out, and it pivots, and it moves the arm on the other side, which adjusts the depth of the blade. And it's surprisingly secure once you get it all put together, even all oiled up. This thing does not move. It doesn't have much play. It's quite well built, actually. They figured out how to keep the play out of it throughout the whole travel, which is pretty awesome, especially for being an old device that they designed probably before the days of computers. So here I am making a slight adjustment to that angle adjuster. So it's just a bent piece of metal, and over the years it got smashed kind of flat, so I just need to bend it up so it fits back into that groove, and then it can work again. So when I took this apart, the angle adjuster was not working. The depth adjuster was incredibly stiff and hard to work. So here's that exploded view of the blade and the back piece, and you can see there the back piece has an oval cut and then a square cut rectangle, and that rectangle is where that adjustment fits in. So now we'll get to this and we'll get this little mousey all cleaned up. Sure looks better after you clean and oil it. So I'm oiling it for a few reasons. One, it does help to loosen up all the debris that's on it. Two, it helps to oil everything and keep everything moving smoothly. And three, it helps protect the metal from future rust and corrosion. So, yep, just gonna finish that. Once I get the oil on and everything, I am using a paper towel just to clean up any excessive oil. So then the surface is just nicely oiled. And now we've got a little old-timey music from Rosalie to accompany us while we go through the rest of this process. And I am cleaning all of the hardware, all of the nuts and bolts and screws of this thing, so that when I put it back together, it'll be all clean and work great. Same method, just the oil and the brushes. Now, there was some, I'm thinking probably wood glue that was dried to this on the base. So I did have to break out the scraper and scrape out. There's the base all cleaned up. And you could see where that glue was. If you look back where the handle was, you see some discoloration. That's where the glue was stuck onto it. So a little work with the scraper and we get that glue off and then oil her up and we're good to go on that piece, just about. So I looked at these new the other day when I was in Harbor Freight, and they're not that expensive, but they're not built nearly as well as this is. This is old, I believe, American steel. It does have a mark on it that says made in USA, and that's what it says, made in USA. That's all the information that I can get off this thing that I can see. So there you have it. And I do believe this is all American steel from back in the day when America used to do that and did it well. So if you find one of these old tools, I would recommend keeping it and cleaning it up, because like they say, they just don't make them like they used to. So once we get done cleaning this up and getting it all oiled, we're going to get it put back together, starting the assembly process here, getting that yoke fitted with the adjustment knob, and getting it all adjusted so that everything works and functions properly. Once we're all done here and we have all this straightened out, I will show you it in use. Here I am putting that mouse back on. It has 2 bolts and this with washers. And this does have an adjustment window on it with the bolts. They are ovalized holes, so you can adjust this thing forward and aft. And why is that important? Because that is how we aligned the blade to slide right through the hole without having any play. So that alignment is crucial, and it took me a little while to kind of get that alignment just right. Now I'm going to lock it in. And I believe I have a picture of that alignment that we'll show you here in a few minutes once we get going. And so there we are, we're aligned, and yep, that blade's not very sharp. So my official thumb sharpness test, and it failed. So I'm gonna get a file out and I will put a little better edge on that blade. I will say, however, I didn't do too much work to this blade to sharpen it, but I think in the future I might do a little more work and get a little sharper. Here's a picture of that alignment. I don't know if you can see, there's the 2 bolts, the mouse piece, and then that's how it sits in alignment. It doesn't look perfectly aligned, but that's because the angle the blade comes in, that is the proper alignment. So here I am with a file. I'm going to file the cutting edge down and then back file just a little bit so we don't have any curl. And here we are, final assembly. And there it is. That is the angle adjustment working. And this is the locker piece, which once you get all your adjustments done, you flip that down and it locks it in place. And that has a slot on it, so I can install this screw first, a couple turns, and then I can slide this over it, and there we are.
Alright, so I did up this tool, got it all finished, got it all put back together and adjusted, and it's great because now I can adjust the depth with this knob here, then adjust the depth of the blade, and I can actually lock it in with this latch here, and when I unlatch it I can use this knob and I can actually adjust the pitch of the blade, and it all works now. It's all oiled up, ready to go, which is awesome. Alright, we're back. Just went for a nice long drive and checked out a house, coming back to the project here. So I've got this old trim all filled in, all the spots filled in except for one. This is a bottom board, so I can kind of get away with a little bit, and I repaired an end right here with some wood glue and such, but this side is high. I don't know if you can see it in the video, and will hold the board off the wall, so I'm just going to carve a little off of this right here with the plane that I redid last night, and I'm going to get this ready, and then we're going to mud up the other side, patch up the other side, and we'll be off to paint.
So you may be wondering why we're off looking at houses when we just bought a house and we're still repairing it. But that's for another episode. We will be getting into that soon, and you will all know why we're looking at other houses. I'm actually going to make a whole episode about that coming up within the next month or two. So look out for that, and we'll explain some of the other plans and things that we're working on for you, and we will keep you informed, and we will keep videoing the whole process. So you can see I probably need to sharpen this just a little more. This is hardwood, but it's doing its job.